As you work around the Railway Museum, you may come across a side room filled from floor to ceiling with a vast amount of various items. This is the warehouse. It is common knowledge that many museum collections are not on general display, so it is fantastic to see these items which wouldn't be seen normally on a general view. As far as I'm aware, this is the only museum that has ever had the strive to do this, and is a wonderful addition as we can find lots of little gems hidden away on the storage racks. Near the back right hand corner of the warehouse, you will see a very large model railway. This is mounted on an impressive table, and you can see the different bells and signals around it. And if you look on the wall behind, you may have to use your camera to zoom in. You will see a certificate from the Guinness Book of World Records. As far as I have seen, this is the only certificate within the museum, and surprisingly, it's not for an engine. It's for this very model. Built in 1912, this railway layout is a Gauge 1 and was created for the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway School of Signalling by some of its apprentices at the Horwich Railway Works. It was created as a training tool to help signalmen learn in a safe environment the rules and regulations of signalling, what each bell means, and how to use the appropriate levers. Now, as you travel down the line on a standard track, you don't often think about the signals in a signal box, or you don't know the man who has to control the points. That's sort of the forgotten part of the railway. Unlike today, where some of the signalling is automated, going back in time, the duty of a signalman was very different. It was the signalman's responsibility to make sure that each train passed the signal box, watching out for the red tail lamp on the trailing vehicle or coach. Each movement had to be logged in a train register, as well as keep in constant communication with the signal boxes at either side of your section, either by telegram or by bell code, as well as setting the points ready for the next train to come into your section. Of course, this had to be done for every line on your section. Now, if you had, for example, just 2 lines, that would be hard enough, one up and one down. But imagine if you had branch and sidings too. Then it would become a whole lot complicated. And you had to perform all of these tasks correctly and alone. This is why this training model was so invaluable. The track is a true working model of what you would see on a standard and narrow gauge railway. This includes period signal block instruments, miniature mechanical lever frames, and is the only one of its kind still used by Network Rail. The layout requires not just signalmen, but it also requires and helps train drivers learn the signals, and are essential to navigate safely through the model. The railway layout can also be used to recreate accidents, and can be used for investigational purposes. The accidents can be recreated to monitor what the signalmen would do in the event of an accident and how they would react. That way, feedback and training could also be given. It was considered so important that it was a main feature at the British Empire exhibition in Wembley. Thanks to the photos that was taken at the exhibition, the museum volunteers were able to restore the railway model back to its 1925 state, following its removal from Victoria Station in 1995 upon the school's closure. As you can imagine, the model went through various changes as advancements to technology procured throughout the years, so it is nice to push it back to its 1925 state. And following the 1995 school closure, it was in storage until 1999. The certificate was presented in 2014 and the model holds the world record for the oldest model railway in existence. The Railway Museum is very proud to own such a unique piece, which would have normally been discarded, as it was not meant to be seen by the public. It's also very humbling that the railway still runs this model to this day. It is best to check the website to find the exact time when the model is operating. Usually, the Railway Museum would normally run this model on the first Saturday of the month. However, this purely is dependent on the volunteers. But there are various groups that use the signalling, so it's best to check around the local railway groups on their websites, as they offer incentives, and you can pay a small donation to use the signalling and try and be a signalman yourself. But it's definitely worth checking it out.